Get to our first conversation now. According to OPEC, Nigeria's oil production for May was at 1.25 million barrels per day, excluding condensates, compared to 1.28 million barrels per day in April. So we see a change of about 30,000 barrels per day there. That's the difference between April and May. But there are reports of also Saudi Arabia ending the long-standing petrodollar deal with the U.S., and that's sparking online discussions about the potential decline of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. And we'll see how this is going to impact the global oil market, going forward. Let's discuss this and other matters now with Mr. Madaki or Madaki Ame. He's a managing partner at BBH Consulting, also a former lawyer at Shell. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's begin with good morning, sir. It's great to have you. So let's begin with the potential termination of the petrodollar deal. What are some of the potential consequences, for Saudi Arabia and the U.S. if this deal, this petrodollar agreement, is to be officially terminated? We don't have an official statement yet about the termination, but it has not been renewed at this time.
Well, I think what's happening. I think what's happening is that the petrodollar deal is probably the biggest reason why the American economy is the largest economy in the world, and why the dollar is so strong. It came into effect in 1973 when America and Saudi Arabia decided that the American dollar would be the currency in which all tradings in crude oil will be done. And because of this singular decision and the agreement that was signed in 1973, the American dollar has become the strongest currency in the world, and has also consistently for about 50 years and counting been the reserve currency in the world. So when the agreement fell due for renewal at the end of last week, the Saudi government decided that they were not going to renew it. And even though America is still in shock, I believe that singular decision is going to lead to catastrophic consequences for the American economy. We will see a downturn in the value of the dollar globally, and we'll see an upsurge in the value of individual countries' currencies. Because with the formation of the BRICS bloc, all the BRICS countries are now more attuned to trading in their own local currencies. And so we're going to see the rise of currencies like the Chinese yuan, the Russian ruble, even the South African rand, and the Indian rupee, and this actually will be a good thing for the world economy, because there are many consequences for the Americans, for the American dollars, retaining an artificial value for their currency. For instance, the high prices we pay for petroleum products in Nigeria is a direct consequence of the fact that we price our crude oil in dollars, even for local consumption. As long as we keep doing that, the economy will continue to leapfrog, to crawl on the ground, and the citizenry will continue to suffer. The high inflation we're suffering right now is a consequence of the artificial value of the dollar. Other countries rein that in for quite some time. For instance, a single dollar exchanges for 7 Chinese yuan. And this has been on for many years. If you go to China, whatever you can buy for $1 in America, you can buy for 1 yuan in China. So things are 7 times cheaper in China than they are in America. And considering that China is the factory of the world, most of the things that people produce, people consume, even in America, are produced in China. So it's 7 times cheaper to buy things in China than to go to America and buy the same thing that is produced in China. So when we see the decline of the influence of the American dollar in international oil diplomacy is going to help to crash a lot of things. You know, hopefully Nigeria will start selling its crude oil in Naira.
Right.
And also start pricing, you know, the crude oil that is supplied to the refineries, you know, for local consumption, also in Naira.
Okay, that brings me...
The economy will
that brings me to
my... If we do that, the economy will improve.
Okay, that brings me to my next question. You know, you did mention, you know, other currencies right now. You mentioned the yuan, you mentioned the ruble, and the rand, which is, you know, an African currency, you know, having prospects here to become strong, you know, with this moving away from US dollar trades in the oil market. But definitely, I also want to know how the Naira can actually key in to this strength, you know, if this deal is not renewed. That's the Saudi Arabia-US petrodollar deal. But at this time, definitely we've seen some impact, you know, of geopolitics in the global oil market. So I'm wondering if this is going to continue driving sentiment in the global oil market and how Nigeria can position, you know, at this time so that we can also get some strength, you know, for the Naira, you know, at this time. I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Not done anything new for a long time. And I think that's actually quite shameful. You know, because nothing new has happened. You know, all that the government officials are doing are basically repeating things that have been done in the past and trying to, and hoping that something will change. If I were, you know, in a policy-making position, Nigeria should be a key player in the BRICS group by now. If Nigeria makes a strategic decision to join the BRICS, bloc, that would be a major statement in the international, to the international forum, you know, and the global economy, that Nigeria is now ready to change the game. Joining BRICS will automatically improve the value of the Nigerian currency. The reason being that, you know, with the end of the petrodollar agreement with Saudi Arabia, and with Saudi Arabia having been invited officially to join the BRICS, and with their Minister of Foreign Affairs participating in the BRICS Foreign Ministers Forum a few days ago, the signal they are sending is that they are prepared and now ready to remove themselves from the apron strings of the United States. Other countries will go that way. A number of countries like Egypt and a few other countries in Africa have been invited to join the BRICS as well. But the last time I checked, Nigeria has not been invited. And countries get invited to join BRICS based on how serious they take themselves, how seriously they take themselves, and how focused their government is in terms of revamping their own economies. You know, apart from all the lip service they're paying, you know, to economic reforms, which has basically shortchanged Nigerians and made the standard of living completely low and impossible for people to survive because of the spiraling inflation. We have not seen anything new that this government has done. And if this government is really determined to make a step change, the time to play on the global stage by joining the BRICS group is now. Because if we come later when every other person has positioned themselves, you know, we will not be able to occupy a position of influence, you know, within the BRICS fold. And that would be a shame.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything new from the government, you know, apart from sending large delegations, to go and to COP27 and then to the recent International Labour Organization conference, where they will go there and just warm their seats and do nothing. You know, we haven't seen anything. You know, but if the government wants to make a strategic change right now, this is the time to join BRICS. This is the time to make big statements, you know, because the world is ready, you know, for a step change. And, you know, one of the major impacts of the end of the petrodollar agreement, which the American government has not come to terms with, is the fact that, you know, the facade of the American economy being the largest in the world will come crumbling right under their noses. You know, because what has sustained the American economy all this while is the strength of their dollar. and the fact that the world, the demand for the dollar worldwide, keeps fueling the printing of new dollars. Because no matter how much dollars the American economy and the American Federal Reserve prints, it will just get mopped up. Nigeria keeps a significant portion of the American dollar in raw cash. And
right.
That is probably what is driving, the unreasonable exchange rate that the Nigerian naira suffers, relative to the American dollar. Nobody could ever have imagined that in a 2024 scenario, the Nigerian dollar would be the Nigerian naira would be exchanging at 1,500 or almost 1,600 naira to $1. It's totally shameful.
Right.
And it's not something that anybody can contemplate. No matter how you plan to, how you spin the story, and no matter how much you waste foreign currency trying to so-called defend, the value of the naira, you are not going to be able to go far. Because how much can you defend the value of any currency?
All right.
And currently the value of the naira, the gross devaluation of the naira, under this current administration is completely reprehensible, is shameful, and it shows a complete lack of capacity to manage an economy. And I don't know how much longer we can continue to run this way. All right, Mr.
Ame, because definitely, Mr. Ame, we've seen a lot of weakness in African currencies, recently, and also when we saw the U.S. dollar, rally, in the previous trading sessions. But we've seen a lot of weakness, when it comes to African currencies. Strength, but we're still seeing some, managing to hold on, at this time. But let's look at oil production, because definitely we know that looking at the trend of oil production, in Nigeria, we've seen that downward month-on-month trend there from April, into May, about the difference about 300,000 barrels or 30,000 barrels per day. But definitely we've been talking about, refining and refining our oil, in Nigeria. We did hear Mr. Dangote talk about an oil mafia, trying to keep Nigeria importing, refined petroleum products, at this time. But we've seen oil production also come down, and I'm wondering, if oil production is not boosted at this time, we have to feed these refineries, at this time. So talk to me about Nigeria's oil production and the possibilities of getting cheap PMS, at some point, in this our refining journey.
Well, my take on that, is that we are running the oil and gas industry in Nigeria grossly inefficiently. And it's really, really unfortunate. We have been talking about ramping up production for years, but we haven't done anything about it. We haven't, beyond grandstanding and just saying the usual things, I've not seen any conscious effort being made, to actually increase production. And the frustration I face with this is that there's so much knowledge, there's so much inbuilt capacity here. But there's so much mediocrity in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. And as long as you keep doing the same things over and over and again, you are never, ever going to see a change, Now, we look for all the excuses in the world to get things wrong in this country. And because we reinforce mediocrity, there is no consequence management for people who are in big positions but are doing absolutely nothing, to earn their daily salaries, And I don't know how they are able to sleep well at night. We keep talking ad infinitum about trying to rein in crude oil theft. How do we rein in crude oil theft? How do we rein in crude oil theft if, at the end of the day, you put in place very expensive contracts like the Tantita contract? We have a Tantita contract that is 4 billion naira a month, to carry out some form of surveillance on the pipelines. But instead of production to increase, production keeps decreasing. And nobody is asking the contractor, what are you doing differently? And what do you plan to do differently, to make things get better? We're in a situation where, people just keep running on and on and on, the same sort of reinforcing the same failures, and nobody asks them any questions, about how these things should be done better. We have a situation where, in this same country, some years ago, we're able to grow production from 800,000 barrels to over 2 million barrels within a space of about 6 to 8 months. And the person who made that happen, a certain Rear Admiral A.O. Suleiman, is still alive. He's retired from the Navy now, but he's around. Why are they not asking him what he did when he was commander of Operation Delta Force? Nobody wants to leverage on institutional knowledge to solve national problems, because everybody, a few people benefit from it, from the level of rot that we are undergoing at the moment. I find it extremely frustrating that every single time we get called up, on programs like this to provide solutions, and then you are talking as if you are talking to the wall, and then nobody listens, nobody implements anything. People are just contented we continue to run the economy aground and run a bankrupt country when we actually have so much potential to quadruple, if not, run this economy 10 times, 100 times more efficiently than we're doing. This is a broke country. We have no money, but we keep, buying expensive things. Now I hear they want to buy a new private jet, a new presidential jet for the president. The presidential fleet already has about 8 to 10 planes. What do they need another plane for? How come they're not even feeling any form of sensitivity to the sufferings of Nigerians who cannot afford even 1 square meal in a day? How long can we continue to run a country, based on government officials playing the ostrich as if everything is right? Some of these things are very annoying, and then, continue to talk about them on and on and on is actually very frustrating.
Right.
Nosedive in production, in daily production of crude oil. There's no difference in procedure between producing crude oil and producing crude water. So how come we are able to produce water and there's water everywhere, and then we are not able to produce oil and then and refine the oil at the price that people can afford? The current high prices of petroleum products is actually a self-inflicted injury. The government has refused to do the right thing. Why are we pricing local, our products at the pump, in Nigeria based on an artificial price of crude oil, which the international price is prepared to pay? Why are we not able to even say from now on we're going to price our local, all the crude oil that we use locally, in our naira? And when you start doing the pricing in naira and you do appropriate pricing based on the wellhead cost of a barrel of crude, you can crash the current cost of petrol, diesel, kerosene, jet A1, and even the lubricants to levels that will shock you. We can do, even as at today, a 300 naira per liter PMS, AGO, and DPK. I've been saying this for many, many years,
right,
since 2012. When we had the first major oil, strike in this country because of the petroleum industry.
Right.
But nobody listens. And honestly, we are getting to a point now where, we may just decide not to talk about this anymore and let them do whatever they want to do.
All right, Mr. Ami, I guess,
so much mediocrity.
Yeah, I guess we still have to, keep talking and driving the message, at this time, because we know that the leaders do here, and at some point, they're going to take action and we'll get things better. We're all hoping and hoping that, with the Dangote refinery, we can actually get affordable PMS at some point and get all the refineries actually working in the country. But that's all we can take now. It was great having your perspective as Mr. Madaki or Madaki, managing partner at BBH Consulting and former Shell lawyer. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.